If you're going to be in Old Town Wichita, I highly recommend a visit to the Museum of World Treasures. I was so impressed with this museum because it's a single building. It doesn't look very big from the outside, but let me tell you, it has a little bit of everything, and it's really impressive, the diverse array of exhibits that you can find in this compact museum. I'm just going to do a walkthrough so you can see what it's like. When you first enter the museum, right outside, there's a big replica of one of the T-Rex statues, and so that's kind of awesome. Definitely get your photo op there. And then you walk inside, and there's another photo op, a T-Rex head replica right inside that you can get a photo at, and definitely do that as well. Of course, kids will love that because they can get right up close. And then you're entering into the gift shop, and it's kind of tempting to immediately turn right and go check out the dinosaur statues because they're impressive, right? They're right there. However, that's not probably the best way to see the museum if you're one of those people who likes to go chronologically. The bottom floor is dedicated to ancient civilizations. So there's a section with ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient Asia, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Mesoamerica. If you'd like to go in chronological order, you'll want to head off to the left. As you start in there, the first things you're going to start to see are you're going to see the ancient Minoan and Mycenaean civilizations, and you'll see a lot of Greek pottery and Etruscan things as well. And that's really cool to look at. They've got a face, a head, I wouldn't say bust because it's just up to his neck, of Alexander the Great. They've got coins. They have all sorts of really amazing artifacts there that you can explore and take some time to look at. A lot of them are behind glass, but they're right there. It's not hard to see them. I love this museum because they're really focused on their educational programs. For example, when I got to the section on Greco-Persian warfare, they had armor, they had the helmet, the greaves, the shield, the spearhead, they had some of these things, but then they also had this really awesome printable in Spanish and English talking about the full armor of that time period and what each piece was for and what it looked like, so that if you're a kid or even an adult who's never seen that kind of armor before, you're looking at these pieces and you're like, what's that for and why do they have it? It talks about why that was so essential at the time. So you're looking at all these neat artifacts from that time period, and then you're going to go into the ancient Egyptian section. That's really cool because they actually have 2 different Egyptian mummies at least, as well as they've got canopic jars, they have coffin, they have all these really fascinating pieces of Egyptian history, way cooler than you would think at any museum of ancient treasures like this. I took some time there. One thing to note is that when you're seeing either the mummies or there's some shrunken heads from Mesoamerica a little further along, you are not allowed to take pictures of those items because those are actual human remains. And so the respectful thing to do is just to look and not take photos. You may have seen photos online and they have a sign asking us not to take photos anymore. It's well worth seeing. You still get to get really close. You get to learn about like the myths. They have a carving of Horus and Anubis statues, quite impressive. After you go through the Egyptian section, you check out the mummies, which are behind a curtain. You can see Roman emperor statues, Roman mosaics, tile mosaics, and I've seen these mosaics when I visited Spain. These are authentic pieces that have been put back together. After you go through there, you can see Roman art, you can see jewelry, various things, and then you're going to go into the ancient Near East. And again, I love their commitment to hands-on stuff. They have different ways kids can touch and experience things. Maybe not the actual items, but there's a wheel where you can turn it to understand the timeline. It's really well set up so that everyone can participate and not just look. It's not a museum where it's look but don't touch on everything, which is great. There's a section on Persia. There's a massive timeline of history, which is super helpful. And then there's more pottery, more things. And then you get to see this Asian section where they have huge Buddha statues. They're like the size of a person. And they're really gorgeous. They have African masks and African carvings from ancient Africa. It's really just so cool to see all the things that are there. Then you're going to continue into the natural history section, and there's a section with gemstones and rocks and thunder eggs, and they've got some really great examples. They have a section on Kansas minerals and stones, so you can understand what you can find while you're visiting Kansas if you're from out of state. And then we get into the fossils, and they don't just have dinosaur fossils. Like there's a Mesohippus, and we have Oreodonts, So those are a type of ancient pig. They've got trilobites. They've got fish. One of the coolest ones is this ginormous spiny bony fish. And I can't even remember what the name was. It had some big long X name. And that was really awesome. Tylosaurus, which is kind of like a plesiosaur, almost like a crocodile with fins. Awesome thing. These fossils are really something to see. And then, of course, you're going to get to the main room with the big dinosaur skeletons. And they've got a Triceratops head there. They have a couple of different T-Rexes. One's a juvenile. And my understanding is that this T-Rex that they have in the museum has the most complete tail of any T-Rex ever found so far. So it's really a great specimen. And when you see them standing there, it really gives you a feel for just how big these creatures were. And the cool thing is, not only you get to see it from down below, but you can take the stairs behind you and go up top, and they've got a viewing area from the top, so you can get views from top, bottom, all around. It's really set up well so that you can see everything that's there and get great pictures as well. On the second floor, they're talking more about world history and military history. There's a section on medieval times, a section on World War I, which talks about mustard gas. There's a section where they've made a model World War I trench, which is awesome. You get to walk through it and see and really get a feel for, wow, this was miserable to be stuck in something like this for months on end in the rain and mud. They have a section on the Vietnam War. They have a section on World War II. They also have a great section on the founding of America, which is a cool way to help your kids understand American history. You know, when we talk about presidents, it's kind of hard to get a feel for. But they have a section where you can walk through and see a couple artifacts from each president, and you see the timeline in order, and that really helps to bring it all together. They have some things about the Revolutionary War and the original American colonies. There's a presidential first Oval Office demo. There's just some really cool things that they've put in place for kids to experience. There's also a huge section with military uniforms from different eras in American history. They also have a section of the Berlin Wall and some Cold War artifacts. So this is a great museum for kids, a great place for neurodivergent kids especially, because there's a lot of things that you can interact with and touch. It's pretty quiet if you get there first thing in the morning on a weekday. I had the place to myself for the first hour. Don't miss the Museum of World Treasures in Old Town Wichita. It's definitely worth your while.